Hey guys, so this is my vintage Pfaff 1222. It's one of my more modern machines. It's a free arm rotary hook, and this one has the integrated walking foot. And I've used it for a couple years. I really like the machine, even though I use it from time to time, even though I moved on to industrials now. But I noticed not too long ago that I had a little bit of play in my hook, that the hook would move back and forth. You can see now there's absolutely no play at all, forward and back in this hook, but I had a little bit of play, and I realized as soon as I started feeling it, even though it was minimal, that I probably had a worn hook bushing, and I'll show you what that part is. But if you're having forward and backward play, it's pretty probable that it's either this screw is loose, so check that first, tighten that, but if that's tight, then you're gonna have a loose bushing in this area here, and I'll show you how I fixed it. Now, right now, there are no fixes that I'm aware of, and most people who have a worn hook bushing end up just scrapping the machine and parting it out. I don't think it's necessary. I think I found probably the best solution. I know that I think there's someone else that had come up with like a way to shim it using parts that they had machined. It seems a little excessive to me, and they had mentioned that they had to install it themselves personally because installation was so critical that it was done correctly. So I just want to show you guys how I fixed it. It's an effective fix. Doesn't require a whole lot of tools. Well, a drill press and a tap set, but you can buy those, those things fairly inexpensively. It's worth for the repair, saving the machine basically. So let me show you what I did. So you're going to have to pull the hook cover off to access the area. That's just two screws inside there. You'll see them. Yeah, slowly tilt this back. Okay, and so this is the hook assembly. Some machines have a cover here, some don't. And basically what you're looking at is you have a hook, and this is the gear housing. It's aluminum, and inside here is the spindle for the hook runs all the way through, and it screws into the back here through this screw, and inside this housing is a bushing. Move that cord there for you. So inside here is a bushing, a pressed in bushing, then you have your spiral gear, pressed in bushing here, then you have a guide bushing on the back that basically keeps the hook square and perpendicular in this system and just keeps everything in line. And then you have a screw in the back. Now if you loosen that screw and remove it, the whole hook will come out. But you need to realize that this screw here is reverse threaded. So you don't, to loosen it, you actually turn it clockwise, which is opposite of most screws. So it's reverse threaded, it's left hand threaded. So just keep that in mind. When you go to tighten it, you turn it to the left, and when you go to loosen it, you turn it to the right. So basically the repair goes as follows. I pulled the spiral gear, I pulled the hook, and this back bushing was loose. This one was really tight, and because it was so tight, I didn't want to press it out and tap it as well. I figured I would just leave it. It was in there really securely. I feel like you're going to have problems here on this one because you have this bushing, this guide bushing rotating against inside of this bushing here. And so what I'm suspecting is that this gets seized up and that people turn the machines over and it gets seized between these two bushings, and then what happens is this thing rotates as one complete unit within this housing, and that will cause the wear and the slop. So technically you weren't really supposed to oil these here, but I think maybe people did, and then the oil just basically froze it up over time. So just keep that in mind. So what you're gonna have to do, and this is what I did, was I pulled everything out. I went and I got a feeler gauge and a wood clamp. After I threaded and tapped this, I filed the shoulder down here to make this totally flat so I wouldn't have the bit wander, and I center punched it and drilled and tapped it with a 6/32 set screw, stainless steel. And I loctited it in there as well. So what I did was I took the wood clamp and put it on each side, and then I took the feeler gauge and I dropped a 0.005 millimeter feeler gauge in here to act as a spacer to basically allow there to be play just a very, very small amount, so these weren't like tied up against each other, just so there's enough slop in there so that gear can rotate freely between the two bushings. So 0.005 millimeters, I put that in there, and then I tighten the clamp down until the bushings were squeezing the spiral gear, and the spiral gear was centered within this housing. Then I tightened the set screw with Loctite, and the whole system was locked in place. Then you're going to have to reinstall the spiral gear, reinstall all this stuff, and you're going to have to retime the machine. Maybe I'll do a separate video on retiming it. It's not that difficult once you know how to do it. Basically, the needle has to rise 2 millimeters above bottom when the needle's in the left-hand position, and that's at that point the point of the hook needs to be basically directly above the eye of the needle. Anyway, so you have to so you do that, you reinstall the hook, but the next thing you're going to have to do, because if this shifted, you're going to have to make sure that the spacing between the hook point and the needle is as close as you can get it, and it should be within spec. I think it's like 0.5 millimeters or something. Like, you're talking like a piece of paper thin. Very, very, very close, using a size 80 needle. Now, the way that you adjust that is it's not through the bushings. People try to move the bushings around to get that needle closer and further away. No, the adjustment is here. There's a screw here, so you loosen this screw, and when you loosen that, it will allow you to pivot. It basically pivots, this whole unit pivots from here, so you can adjust the hook to get as close to the needle as you can get it. So just keep that in mind. If both these are loose and you have to tap both these and center them, in all likelihood you're going to have to reset the needle distance from the hook. And so you do that from here. Loosen that screw and rotate as necessary. And retime, and that's it. And so you shouldn't have any issues with these bushings moving again. And the hook should be tightly in place, and it shouldn't be a problem. Even though they said not to oil these machines, I still oil them just to prolong the life, and I actually use a 0.20 weight motor oil, fully synthetic. I think it's the best lubricant. I would not use sewing machine oil in these. It's not pure enough, and that's why you see a lot of these varnish over and stuff. It's just impurities, sulfur and whatnot in the oils. So I prefer the fully synthetic motor oils that are like more refined. But yeah, so there's the fix for loose hook bushing on a Pfaff 1222. Hopefully that helps some of you guys and you're able to salvage and repair some of your machines and keep them working for years forward. So there you go. Hope it helps. Thanks, guys.